So imagine you're walking through a dense forest, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, this massive grizzly bear just steps right onto the path in front of you. Your biology instantly takes over. I mean, your adrenaline spikes, your heart rate doubles, your vision kind of tunnels.
Right. You are experiencing a purely binary survival instinct. It's just fight or flight.
Exactly.
And that specific biological reaction
Yeah.
is incredible. Like, it is arguably the only reason humanity survived for millions of years.
Yeah, but that ancient instinct was designed entirely for, immediate physical threats. And today we are doing a deep dive into the excerpts from the 2026 Index Fund Playbook, because applying that exact same fight or flight instinct to modern financial markets is, well, it's the very thing that will get you financially killed.
Oh, absolutely.
We're basically going to give you the exact facts, the order of operations, and the behavioral hacks you need to succeed without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, our core mission today is demystifying investing. We want to show you why the smartest thing you can do to build passive wealth is to basically get out of your own way.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we really need to talk about the bizarre reality of mid-2026. I mean, if you're listening to this and you've had money in the market recently, you probably feel like a financial genius.
Oh, for sure. Everyone does, right?
Right, because the S&P 500 has just been on an absolute tear. It went up 25% in 2024, another 18% in 2025, and it's already up another 11% so far this year.
And those massive back-to-back gains feel phenomenal on paper, but they have created a deeply precarious situation behind the scenes. We're currently looking at a market trading at its second most expensive valuation in 140 years of market history.
Wait, 140 years?
Yeah. If we look at the Shiller-Cape ratio, which essentially measures stock prices against the actual tangible profits companies generate over a decade, the historical average is around 17. Today, that ratio is sitting at 40.7.
Wow.
The only time in financial history it has ever been higher was in December of 1999, right before the dot-com bubble burst.
Man, that is a terrifying parallel. And on top of that valuation, the market has become incredibly top-heavy, right? The Magnificent Seven tech companies, so Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, Alphabet, Meta, and Tesla, they now make up almost 35% of the entire S&P 500 index. So when you buy a supposedly diversified U.S. index fund in 2026, you are essentially placing a massive, highly concentrated bet on big tech with, 493 other companies just kind of tagging along in the background.
Right, which is exactly why Vanguard, and they're an institution known for being exceptionally conservative with their forecasting, is currently projecting that U.S. stocks will likely only return between 3.5% and 5.5% per year over the next decade.
That's a huge drop-off.
Yeah, the explosive growth of the last few years has essentially borrowed returns from the future.
So what does this all mean? Like, if valuations are sky high and projections are low, shouldn't you just hoard cash and wait for the inevitable crash to reset things?
Mathematically speaking, giving into that temptation is disastrous. Waiting on the sidelines is a historical trap. The playbook actually draws a brilliant parallel to 2012.
Okay, what happened then?
Well, financial media back then was absolutely flooded with articles claiming the market was dangerously overvalued. The S&P 500 was sitting at around 1,400 points. Millions of investors got spooked, moved their portfolios to cash, and just waited for an obvious correction.
But the correction never arrived?
Nope. The market today is more than 4 times higher than it was in 2012. Those individuals didn't protect their wealth. They permanently missed out on 13 years of explosive compound growth.
Ouch.
Yeah. The data synthesis on this is undeniable. Over every single rolling 20-year period in American stock market history. And that timeline includes the Great Depression, the stagflation of the 70s, the dot-com crash, the 2008 financial crisis. The S&P 500 has never once lost money in real inflation-adjusted terms, ever.
So the market actively punishes impatience. And the flip side of trying to wait for a crash is the silent killer, which is holding cash. I mean, sitting in a checking account feels safe because your balance never goes down, right? The screen always shows the same number. But in early 2026, inflation spiked back up to 3.8%. Meanwhile, standard traditional savings accounts are paying a microscopic 0.38%.
Yeah, you are effectively paying your bank a storage fee for the privilege of quietly getting poorer.
It's crazy. Let's run the actual math for you on that storage fee. Say you have $10,000 sitting in cash, and inflation runs at a modest 3% for a decade. After 10 years, your bank screen still proudly says you have $10,000. But the actual purchasing power of that money, like what it can buy in the real world, has dropped to $7,400. You have literally lost $2,600 without making a single bad trade. Standing still is the bad decision.
So holding cash is a slow leak, and waiting for a crash is a trap.
Right. So how should we act? The counterintuitive answer is that the best action is just extreme inaction.
Yeah, we have to address the fact that your own brain is your biggest liability. The Playbook shares this Dalbar study that illustrates this perfectly. It exposes something called the behavioral gap.
Okay.
In 2024, the market returned a flat 25%. You'd logically assume that investors in the market also earned 25%, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the average investor only took home 16.5%.
Wow. So an 8.5% gap just vanished. Why?
Human emotion. People constantly buy high, sell low, and panic. They buy in enthusiastically when prices are skyrocketing, and then they panic sell when the market plummets.
It's so true. I mean, the JP Morgan study really drives this home, right?
Oh, the math on missing out is devastating.
If you invest $10,000 over 20 years, it yields about 10.6% annually. But if you miss just the 10 best days in that entire 2-decade span, your returns plummet to 6.4%. Your final net worth is practically cut in half just for missing 10 days out of thousands.
It's unbelievable.
It's like jumping out of a roller coaster right before the drop, only to realize the exit door opens off a cliff. But I have to ask, can't a smart investor just avoid the worst days and somehow catch the best ones?
What's fascinating here is, well, it's the cruelest joke in finance. 7 of the 10 best market days historically happen within 15 days of the 10 worst market days.
Wait, really? Within 15 days?
Yes. When panic selling peaks and the market crashes, it creates a massive vacuum. Algorithms and value investors flood in, and that triggers an explosive rebound. Panic selling literally guarantees you miss the rebound.
That is wild, and it totally validates that legendary Fidelity study. It might be slightly apocryphal, but the industry loves it because it's so true. They supposedly looked at whose accounts performed the best over the long term, and the winners were people who were either dead or who had completely forgotten they even had an account.
Neglect is a superpower.
Right. Contrast that with day trading stats. 97% of committed day traders in Brazil lost money, and less than 1% in Taiwan were persistently profitable.
So now that we know our own brains are the enemy, we need a system that protects us. Before we even talk about what stocks to buy, we have to talk about the buckets we put our money in.
Because the government's tax rules dictate our wealth just as much as the market does.
Exactly. So bucket 1 and bucket 2 are all about free money and guaranteed returns.
Right, like the 401k match. If your company offers a 50% match, that is an instant guaranteed 50% return. No hedge fund can do that. Yet, Americans leave $24 billion on the table annually because the paperwork is annoying.
It's a tragedy. And bucket 2 is toxic debt. Credit cards average 21 to 24% interest right now in 2026.
Which is suffocating.
It is. Paying off a 24% card is mathematically identical to finding a guaranteed, zero-risk 24% investment return. Nothing in the market beats that.
So once you grab the free match and kill the toxic debt, you move to buckets 3 and 4, which are your armor and stealth wealth.
Yes, the emergency fund.
Putting 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account, which is paying around 3.5% right now.
And we have to be clear on the why here. It's not an investment, it's armor. It prevents you from having to sell stocks during a market crash just to fix a busted water heater.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting. Bucket 4 is the HSA, the health savings account.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the HSA is a stealth retirement account. It's triple tax advantaged.
Meaning no taxes going in, no taxes growing, and no taxes coming out for medical expenses.
Exactly. You invest the HSA funds heavily, you pay your current medical bills out of pocket from your regular checking account, save the receipts, and then decades later, you cash out tax-free against those old receipts.
It's brilliant. And bucket 5 is the Roth IRA. Max is $7,500 a year for singles earning under $153K. The beauty of the Roth is paying taxes on the seed now, so you get the entire tree tax-free later.
It's a fantastic deal.
Okay, so the buckets are built. What actually goes inside them? The financial industry wants you to think it's highly complex, but the data just proves otherwise.
Yeah, the Besson-Binder study drops an absolute bombshell statistic on this. He looked at the entire history of the U.S. market and found that 4 out of 7 stocks generated worse returns than a basic 1-month Treasury bill.
4 out of 7, that's more than half.
It is. Just 4% of companies created half of all the stock market wealth in history.
Okay, but if only 4% of stocks make the real money, shouldn't I hire a professional with, a Patagonia vest and a Bloomberg terminal to find those specific companies for me?
It sounds logical, but the SPVA scorecard completely takes that down. In 2025, 79% of professional active managers lost to the S&P 500. Over 20 years, 92% lose.
92%.
Yeah, the persistence data shows that the few who do win are mostly just relying on luck.
So the solution is the index fund. Don't look for the needle, just buy the entire haystack.
Exactly.
For 2026, you've got options like Vanguard's VTI or VOO charging 0.03%, Fidelity's FXA IX at 0.015%, or FZROX, which is literally 0%. But we have to avoid the fee vampire.
Oh, the fee vampire is brutal.
If you invest a $100 IRA over 30 years, a tiny 1% advisor fee doesn't just take 1% of your total. It consumes $187,000. That is a quarter of your total potential wealth just gone.
Right, because the money they take in fees stops compounding for you.
Okay, so we are buying the haystack. But given the top-heavy, highly valued U.S. market we talked about, what does the specific haystack look like right now?
Well, the recipe loved by bogleheads is the three-fund portfolio.
Okay.
It's roughly 60% U.S. total market, 30% international, and 10% bonds. People used to ignore international, but international stocks actually beat the U.S. In 2025, they returned 31% compared to the S&P.
Wow, 31%.
Yeah. With higher projected returns for the next decade, international exposure is really your seatbelt against those magnificent 7 tech companies faltering.
That makes total sense. But for someone who wants it even easier, the one-click alternative is the target date index fund. You just pick your retirement year, say target retirement 2065, and it self-drives the whole process for about a 0.08% fee.
Just make sure you avoid the non-index versions, like some of the Fidelity Freedom funds that charge 0.65% for active management.
Great point. But let me ask you about executing the plan. Say I have a lump sum of cash. The math says to invest it all at once because the market usually goes up, right? But jumping in all at once feels terrifying. What if the market crashes the next day?
That fear is completely valid. Yes, Vanguard's study shows lump sum investing wins about 68% of the time. But the psychology of the investor is way more important than theoretical optimization.
How so?
Well, a slightly suboptimal plan like dollar cost averaging, where you just invest a bit every month if you actually stick to it, that is vastly superior to a perfect lump sum plan that you abandon in panic when the market dips.
Right.
Institutionalize it, automate it every payday, and spend just 20 minutes a year rebalancing.
So once you set this automated, boring machine in motion, an entire industry will magically materialize to convince you to tamper with it.
Because activity pays their bills.
Let's quickly dismantle the 4 massive wealth traps you have to avoid. Trap 1, the 1% financial advisor. We talked about how that fee scales with your money, not their effort.
Right, if you need help, hire a fee-only fiduciary instead.
Trap 2, whole life insurance. It's pitched as a hybrid, but it's terrible. Just buy cheap term life insurance and invest the difference in premiums.
Exactly.
Trap 3, robo-advisors. That 0.25% fee they charge is just a training wheels tax for a nice app interface.
A target date fund does the same thing cheaper.
And trap 4, crypto.
Yeah, the 2026 Bitcoin case study says it all. It was down from $126K in late 2025 to around $70 in mid-2026.
It's a roller coaster.
It is. If you want it, limit it to 1 to 5% of your portfolio and treat it as the casino annex, not the retirement plan. This raises an important question, though. Why do smart people fall for these traps?
Why do they?
Because these traps sell a story of outsmarting the system. But true wealth comes from simply outsitting everyone else.
Outsitting everyone else. I love that. And I think we need a quick reality check here to ground things. Social media implies everyone is a millionaire at 25. But the median retirement savings for Americans aged 55 to 64 is only $185,000.
And half have nothing saved at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Charlie Munger was right. The first $100 K is the hardest. The savings rate matters far more than the return rate in your first decade. You just have to shovel it in.
And when things go bad, you need the crash protocol.
The crash protocol.
Yeah, a 30% market drop isn't a risk. It's a scheduled event. You should literally write a note to your panicked future self to read at 2 a.m. that says, when it crashes, I do nothing on purpose.
I do nothing on purpose. That's so powerful. Think back to that grizzly bear in the woods we talked about at the very beginning. Our brains evolved over millions of years to trigger a fight or flight response to immediate danger. But the modern financial market is one of the only environments where that ancient survival instinct is entirely wrong. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What other areas of our highly optimized modern digital lives are we secretly sabotaging because we're applying ancient physical survival instincts to abstract mathematical systems?
It's a great question.
Something to really think about.
Yeah.
Until next time, set up those automations, get out of your own way, and let the compounding begin.